I moved here 10 years ago and I never played music in Japan, but I met wonderful people who involve the music scene in Toronto. I live in Toronto right now, and then those people teach me how, like, you can do whatever you want and then live the moment and do what you make, what you love and what you make happy, you know. So I follow it, and I'm not that young, but I can still do it. At the age, it doesn't really matter. And then especially where I'm from in Asia, it's really care age stuff. So, but fuck it, I like it, what I'm doing right now. So you can do whatever you want.
Friendships.
Yeah.
And being friends.
And our friendship honestly started from, it probably started growing when we started watching anime together.
That's true. Yeah.
That was like the catalyst.
Yeah.
We like knew each other and were like around each other, but that's when we started like hanging out.
That's true. Yeah, weekly AOT.
Yeah. Like we first started like jamming together, it was probably last summer, and like we didn't really go anywhere with it too much. Like we jammed for like a month and then we kind of stopped. It was mainly just due to like jam space availability and also like my work schedule. And then January this year my work schedule changed, and that kind of gave the availability to use the jam space like during the day, during the week.
Oh yeah.
And that was kind of like, that was like a big thing, because like the biggest issue was timing and like getting the time to do it. And now all of a sudden
it's true,
we both have Wednesdays off.
I used to play a lot of shows with like backing tracks that I just produced, and then like a rap or whatever was sing on top of it, and like that, like it was like the industry of fronting. It's like you have to front, like that's what you're selling. It's like what you're doing, your personality and like whatever. But like also, I don't know, I feel like I literally had to give nothing up to be able to play in Doozy. Like I don't have to give anything up at all for this duo personally. So like it feels the same to me as if I was just like working on my own music. It's like, it's not a very generative posture coming to practice when you're like getting ready for a show, because I don't know, I think we even cut off our last practice because we said like, oh, it's we can't just keep playing this song, like it's not gonna, we're at the point where if we just keep playing it, we're just gonna get tired. And
because it's like even say like one of the songs we did, like we practiced it like 5 times in a row, like banging it in our heads, and it's like, well, we didn't even play it that way.
It's true.
It didn't turn out like. I'm definitely used to being more in the background in bands I've been in, like playing bass or drums in previous bands and like guitar in previous bands. Like I've never really been necessarily the focal point, so I think that's been kind of a fun direction for me to go with this band. Like I think there is more attention on me, like just honestly by virtue of having a mic.
Yeah, you were vocals.
Like, so that's been cool. It's been something like I've wanted to do for a while, and like now here I've broken the ice of vocal duties. That's good.
So, this next one one has an element of crowd participation. So, if you could all please just indulge me.
Resisted, affected, selected, repeated. Remember the feeling. Your feet on the ceiling. Resisted, affected, selected, repeated. It's all we can do till this time. To be apprehensive, you hear the snag, now the moment's gone. Things look a mess through your bedroom window. It doesn't matter.
Just happened.
Yeah, one of our mutual friends was like, "Yo, you know, this dude plays guitar and is looking for a drummer." I was like, "I'm down.
Yeah,
I want to drum."
We met at a show here actually.
Oh.
September, and then that was kind of the start of it, I guess.
Then the band needed a bassist, so my brother asked me to swing by, and I was only gonna do it for like a single show.
Yeah.
And it was so good. The energy was so great, and the band are just such nice guys. Like I feel very solid here.
We just kind of
jammed and meshed immediately.
Yeah,
we're just happy
all starting and stopping at the same time, changing.
Yeah, the flow was like outrageous.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, you made us notice a lot that like, oh, you guys like know when to stop, and so we're like, I guess we do. And
it was
then
my first time playing with them, and we still managed to just, when like doing a jam, like with no, like, you know, when you're jamming on just a single like idea, and it's time to end it, everyone knew just when to end it and how to end it without talking, and it was like so surreal.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody in the band has been playing together in various different projects for more than a decade at this point. Like Barry and I went to university together. We played in a band together, and then Steve and I were in a two-piece band for a while. Lindsay was in another band that was sharing the rehearsal space with Steve and my band. And so, I mean, everybody's been doing music for like the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I think for all of us, like being in bands is just something we've always done. Like going back to high school. So eventually this, the four of us kind of found our way together.
Stop crying now. Got a brand new fix, but it won't coach you. So stop crying now. What you need, know what you want is everything.
We first met in another band that we calculated it was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
We started playing together in this sort of like dream pop, got a little bit punk by the end of it band called Lashes, and that was based in Calgary. So we started playing together in that project, and then one night we saw our favorite Calgary band.
Yeah, Melted Mirror.
Whoa.
They're not a band anymore, but they were like a really cool synth-based band in Calgary. Like huge inspiration.
Yeah, we were just watching one of their shows and we're like, hey, this is my favorite type of music right now. I'm loving it. And then Kyla's like, me too. And we're like, hey, why don't we just like,
Wow,
why don't we just do this? Like, this is a vibe. Come on.
We've been together in a relationship for 8 years now. We started making music in 2019 together. We had done like previous projects before, and we were actually put into a band called the Sďwx. They're from Peru, but they had moved to Canada briefly, so we were part of that for a while and playing on some stages together, and realized it was a lot of fun making music together. So Maya started humming some cool lyrics one day and picked up my bass, and it just kind of gelled. So just about finding the people that you work well with. And,
I feel like one of the best things about like being in a music scene is like the community. You know, you go out to a show and there's a bunch of people that you recognize, and then you can maybe collaborate with them or compare and contrast the things that you're doing.
Definitely found community and family and music and scene in general. My dad was a musician, so I've kind of always been around that sort of side of things as well. So it was easy for me to jump into it, having that as an influence.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think like music, it's a very satisfying creative pursuit, but I don't know if you get anything out of doing music that you couldn't also get out of like, you know, pottery or painting or writing, except that it's got that social side. It's so easy to do with other people. So you're not part of the pottery community?
There's not really much aspect of like ego in this band. It's like we all kind of have our own moments, but it's like, you know, it's not like it's one person in particular's idea that we're gonna use and then like go forward with. It's like we all kind of bring our own thing together and then just mesh it. Yeah, it's, I don't know, just lucky to have found these guys, I guess.
Yeah.
It just works out.
Feeling very lucky.
Yeah.
Happy and excited.
So I had previously, before starting to play music with Kat, would be like a side musician for other bands in Calgary, and kind of did not have the best experience in general with like the music scene and with some like men in particular. So kind of going into projects that were more women-centered or queer-centered, it was so life-changing.
You know, there's like that kind of thing about, you know, celebrating people for who they are versus kind of just booking a band to make the bill look a bit better. But here, like, you know, it's run by people who have experienced similar things. Yeah, and when I look at the bills here, it's an accurate representation of what we see in life. It's a representation of, you know, who the people are versus just like a bunch of dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Red Gate. Shout out to my roommate Jade for holding it down on the drums. Shout out to Musicways. And shout out to my boss because I'm working right now and he let me run over and do this. All right, let's go.
Who's your boss again? Never mind. Don't answer that question. Don't answer that question. I don't remember writing the song or recording it, but...
Like a collaborator that he was mentioning is my roommate, and we've been living together for several years now, and a lot of the people that we know and a lot of our friends know each other because of music and reaching out through social media or for example, my roommate collaborator, we all went to music school together, and a lot of the friends are because of these spaces. And now that once you kind of get out of the school and you start to try to just sustain yourself and like work to, you know, have the space that you live in and put food on your plate. When you have the fortune of having a creative space outside of your living space, it's kind of challenging to structure your life in a way where you're forcing creativity because you want it to sort of be, you want it to be authentic and you want it to come from an honest space. And sometimes when you're limited with the resources of just, you know, having the time or energy or space to be creative, it kind of becomes challenging to practice. Everyone's making art, everyone's doing music, everyone's staying creative on a very regular basis, but for people to really progress and develop, they need to have, you know, the resources to kind of get their projects moving. And
it would be so great to own a property, to have actual freedom, but I'm thankful for absent landlords and the anarchist principles that can arise out of that convenience.
This studio, Pandora, is an amazing studio. I love it there. I love like spending time there and just being able to like be in that studio and sing my little heart out or whatever. And yeah, apparently like there hasn't been anyone that's like like left in like 6 or 7 years. It's all just been like transferred to another person through a sublease or something like that. You know what I mean? So it hasn't been like a completely new ownership in like 6 or 7 years of a particular studio, which
really
is
rare.
It's crazy. It's like right, and it just goes to show that it's so much networking, which can be really hard because especially if you just deal with like social anxiety or just other things, like they make it really difficult and inaccessible in that way, which is annoying. And I wish that there was more spaces where it wasn't so like network based. But I also acknowledge that that's kind of like the industry in a lot of different industries.
I think, like the biggest challenge that I think a lot of musicians also face here is just like the lack of spaces, right? A lot of spaces closed down and stuff like that. The city doesn't really usually see sometimes that music is profitable, so a lot of venues just get shut down sometimes. But there's always those venues that kind of always remember from way back then, but they don't exist anymore. Like 333, it's not really
keeping a space open.
Keeping a space like this is like very hard, but the people that make this space like available and like put all the work into it is like so good. Like it changes everything for like everyone who wants to be a part of like music in Vancouver.
Right? People are doing like selfless things. Running venues. Like you don't get that much out of it, and you work a lot.
Yeah, and they're like taking so many risks with like all of it. And, like, I really appreciate that. It's awesome.
Right? Yeah.
Jam space at Redgate here, and me and my friend Vanessa at the time were like kind of dreaming of starting a little band, and then Jill was like, do you want to come jam in my jam space? And then we just became a band, and it was like honestly 90% because we like had the little space. To go. Yeah, and then it was like Jill had been in bands before, and so she kind of like greased the wheels, and she knew how to like organize shows and stuff, so it was also nice just having someone who was like kind of more in the music scene.
I think that ties back in with like just kind of the general networking you do when you go out to shows and like you start talking to people. Like guaranteed, if you're doing that, you're gonna run into someone who has a space, and like maybe there's an opportunity if you're wanting to get involved with that space.
Yeah. Or when you're in a space, then it's like you make so many more connections that way too, and like play more shows. Like Matt Thomas and 8-4, we used to share jam space.
Oh, so cute.
Together.
Yeah, our room we share with Emma Goldman.
Right.
We used to practice at the same time as Aaron, and that's how I kind of knew of him and asked him to be in another band that we're in. So it was just because, we'd always see him and be like, that guy shreds.
Aaron shreds.
Shreds on every instrument.
Yeah. Also, that's actually good advice. If you're trying to start a band and you need someone to join your band, and they're like a musician in your local scene, and you're so intimidated to ask them to join your band, just do it anyways, because sometimes they say yes, and then it works out great.
And the worst they can do is say no.
Yeah,
and probably be flattered
like no
that
big.
you asked.
Yeah, exactly. So just ask for.
I would say just put out love and kindness wherever you can, and you'll get it back usually. You'll end up with a network of really amazing people around you. So we're lucky to have that, but anyone can do it.
Join a union and get into community aid and other grassroots movements involved in your city. We're big fans of COPE.
I live in subsidized housing.